Thank you so much, gracias. I just have to say, I feel like I have the most boring shoes on stage.
Oh, boring.
So thank you so much for this amazing film and for taking the time and the talent to chronicle the story that otherwise might not be heard around the world the way you've done it. Can you hear me? Is this working? Okay. So I'm just going to give a slightly more elaborate introduction so people know a little more about who you both are. Violeta is an award-winning filmmaker and a trailblazer in creative technology, recognized as the first neurodiverse Quechua member of the Oscars. I recommend you have to find her stuff online because it's amazing. Her work bridges storytelling with groundbreaking technologies. Her latest project, Las Awichas, am I saying that correctly? An XR film experience developed in collaboration with King's College London is currently on display at the Strand, one of London's most famous streets. This exhibition, part of the esteemed Globe project, celebrates the pivotal contributions of women to the evolution of technology. Her prior work, Prison X, an interactive VR animation, garnered critical acclaim at Sundance and Cannes XR, marking a significant achievement in the realm of spatial storytelling. Her documentary credits include Cocaine Prison, The Fight, The Bolivian Case, and Stolen, and of course the film that we have just seen, La Lucha. These works have premiered at major film festivals, including Sundance and Toronto, and have been broadcast on global platforms such as PBS, World, Amazon Prime, and The Guardian, earning Ayala more than 50 awards and nominations, including a Walkley, which is like Australia's Pulitzer, and nominations for prestigious accolades like the IDA in Los Angeles, the International Documentary Association, and Rory Peck in London. In 2023, Ayala's Woven Worlds was honored with the XR Innovation Award at the Games for Change Festival. I'm just tired listening to all the things you're doing. Look at you smiling there. Additionally, her creation of a metaverse space in voxels was acknowledged with an overall honorable mention at Yale University's Indigenous Futurism Model Making Competition. Ayala is actively engaged in developing a personal documentary on her journey to build a feminist AI, alongside working on Cyberpunk Tinkus, a sci-fiction feature, and creating films and experiences in immersive worlds with AR and VR. Her role as one of the leading voices in creating futures, art, and AI for tomorrow's narratives at the Salzburg Global Seminar underscores her influence and commitment to shaping the future of storytelling. She's a founder of United Notions Film. And then joining us today to bring, we have Cynthia Lopez on the left, I think well known to many people in New York. We've collaborated a lot with Cynthia with our Center for Media, Culture, and History. New York Women in Film and Television CEO. Cynthia is an award-winning media strategist and former commissioner of the New York City's Mayor's Office of Media and Entertainment, supporting film and TV production across the 5 boroughs. She's the recipient of many coveted industry awards, including 11 News and Documentary Emmy Awards, a special Emmy for Excellence in Documentary Filmmaking, 3 Peabody Awards, and 2 DuPont Columbia Awards. In addition, she received the National Association of Latino Independent Producers Award for commitment to corporate diversity. Prior to working as commissioner, Lopez was executive vice president and executive producer of the award-winning PBS documentary series American Documentary, and was involved in the organization's creative growth for 14 years. There is a lot more here, but I know you're eager to get to talk, and it's been it's a long night and an incredible film. So I just want to thank you both so much for being here. And just bringing the story, I know, having been involved with this festival for a long time, it's harder to get films from what, for lack of a better term, to call the global south, and to tell those stories that I think up here in places like New York City, we don't get to hear those stories sufficiently. I think the lives of the people you featured in the film and told their stories will just live on in all of our awareness and memory. And so I don't want to take things away, but I think maybe you can catch us up a little bit on what's going on with their lives, Violeta, and then I'm going to turn everything over to you, Cynthia.
I want to know. It's on?
Here, let's switch it. So that's okay.
I want to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land on which we stand today, the Lenape people, and pay my respect to their elders past, present, and emerging. They have been, are, and forever be the guardians of this land. My name is Violeta Ayala. I belong to the oldest people that inhabits this land. 22,000 years ago, from my mother's side, and Holocaust survivors from my mother's father's side. I am a filmmaker and a creative technologist who creates from the perspectives that come from neurodiversity. I was born on the spectrum. My nephew too. I think it's a family trait. I believe firmly that to name injustice is the first step in claiming justice. More than 33,000 Palestinians have been killed by Israeli strikes. 13,800 of them are children. For every children killed in Gaza, 3 become disabled. Every single day, at least 10 children in Gaza have a limb amputated. The colossal violence inflicted on Gaza has created all types of disabilities: mobility, psychiatric, sensory, chronic illnesses, and so much more. Wars are a mass disabled event everywhere. Disability justice cannot exist while military occupation, apartheid, and genocide exists. Disability justice is collective liberation, global solidarity, and realizing our liberation is tied to the liberation to others. We live in horrifying times, scary and sad. I cannot imagine what happened to my grandfather's mother that ended up in Bolivia. My grandfather will be embarrassed to see what's happening today. He died at 93 years old. He was tortured in Bolivia by a Nazi. Klaus Barbie was called. He will be as embarrassed as I am today. In these horrifying times, I'm using this platform to call for an immediate and permanent ceasefire in Gaza. Thank you. I think we do have the capacity to talk. I think we do have the capacity to discuss. I want to believe that humanity will prevail. I've never been so embarrassed in my life. Never. I think I have learned a lot fighting for the rights of people, and I believe something that is said in Bolivia a lot. The power of the people will always be stronger than the people of power. And the authorities and people in power are the ones who don't have any time. We, the ones who fight for justice, we have all the time in the world, and the people have all the time in the world. But the ones that are in power only have very short time. It's a lot of people of the caravan have died, a lot of them, but the ones that are alive, they keep fighting. Today we had a little victory. Today we received permission to screen La Lucha in La Plaza in Cochabamba. After months and months and months of fighting, today we got the paper. They sent it to me, and I'm very happy. On the 19th of April at 7 p.m. in the Central Plaza for everybody with a massive screen. It'll be interesting, to say the least. it will be used politically by some, but I think Rosemary wouldn't have it any other way. They offered us theaters, cinemas, everywhere. And she said, no, it will be in La Plaza, where it all started. And we fought so hard, and I'm glad that it's gonna happen. It's interesting times, you know, polarizing times all over the world, including in Bolivia. Disability rights are political rights. I don't think there's nothing more political in the world than disability rights. And it's interesting because you think we have come a long way, and then you realize we haven't come that far. The fight continues. The streets are not any better, but at least we have a right. We have a right to a pension of $30 or something, a bit more than that. But it's very, very difficult to get rights, and impossible, and it's very hard to get rights, and very easy to lose rights. So today, everybody has this disability pension in Bolivia. Not everybody, everyone with severe and very severe disability. I talk fast, and I don't make sense many times. My disability is quite severe, but I think it's also a superpower, right? In a sense, sometimes it's not. I'm very confused and sad at the moment, I think, as we all are, and we can acknowledge that. Thank you.
Violeta, right? Violeta, right? Which I think words have such heavy meanings, right? So when I think of the word Violeta, what do you guys think of? Possibility, purple, beauty, fragility. What other words? Violeta. What other words come to mind? Power. Like how powerful flowers are to open. I don't know how I ended up on this panel. I just feel so humbled to have seen this film. I couldn't stop crying. You know, Faye mentions I work for I worked at POV for 14 years. I consider that we had done, or we still do, it's a series on PBS, some serious social issue documentaries that really have changed the landscape of political policy in this country. And when I sit here, and I think on a day that New York City experienced an earthquake, right? And I was fighting with my daughter, like some people, you know, you shouldn't fight with people you love, but we do. Right? Oh, so he's going, so you had a fight too, right? And I was at my house trying to figure out, how do I get to the festival? We just had an earthquake. There's many people in my building who are elderly and some disabled. There's so many things to do, right? But we have to take a minute and be human. We have to take a minute and breathe, and take a minute and say, wait a second. As Isaac said, it won't deter us. We will get to where we need to be. And this is exactly where I needed to be. Because from my perspective, I've traveled the world in my career. I've gone many places. And what I see is the power of documentary to showcase the will of people to make a difference. That, for me, is why I do this work. I don't do this work, for most of you who know NYWIFT, because it's an exciting and wonderful job. No, it's very tough to do that kind of independent work. At PBS, it was tough to produce these films. And when I watched this film, all I kept on thinking about was they're asking for less than $100 a month for livelihood, right? Think about what each of us does with $100 a month, right? They're asking for minimal They're not asking for the maximum. And when the activist said something to the effect like they'll continue fighting until they get the dignity that they deserve. And she said, is it dignity for me to like crawl on the floor of a bus because the bus driver won't help me? Crawl on the floor of a bus because the people won't help me? Or is it dignity for me to fight for what I believe in, right? I was in Peru when Fujimori was the president, and I was born and raised in America, born and raised in Brooklyn. I'm a Brooklyn kid. And I remember it was the first time I saw someone killed. And everybody thought, oh my God, Brooklyn is a tough place. I was like, no. You have to go to Latin America to know what tough is. You have to understand that just because that Latin American president is from Latin America, that doesn't mean anything. There is a system that keeps us down when there is rights and privilege and money, right? And so I just feel very humbled, Violeta. And when I say I look for words, I always think there's meaning in the words that come to me. So today I was supposed to see a Violeta. Today I was supposed to feel a Violeta. And I totally hear and feel you in a way that I'm sure everybody here does. And making a film this tough, this is a tough film, right? It shows tough life, right? Also, it, for me, hits that palpable human button that I still have. And I try not to not have. We have to have it, right? We have to understand it. We have to see it. So I just want to say thank you so much for your bravery, your courage, because it's not easy. I've been on the front lines in many ways. It's not easy to be in front of the police in a situation like that. It's not easy to be, on the right side of justice, if you will. And so as a documentary maker and as someone from Latin America and as a flower, you've survived it, which is pretty amazing to go on and to do work. So I want to, go back to you, but I just feel very privileged to have met you today and to see your work, and I can't wait to see more of it.
So, thank you. We're sharing the voice here. I'm going to start us off with a question, and then we're going to open up, so start collecting your thoughts. So one of the, I just was thinking so much during the film about you being there with a camera, many people being there with a camera, and it felt to me that that was a form of protection, that without the cameras there, what might have happened to all those extraordinary people, I don't even want to think about it. So I'd love to get your reflections on that. I don't know, I think I'm probably correct watching you nod your head, so I'd love to hear you talk about the significance of just literally being there.
It's interesting. I had a baby. My baby now is 9. She was 2. And you imagine it was me, my partner, Fernando, Andrea, and people came and joined us. And I remember I went to protests. I went to film with my daughter in my bag many times, because even the person that was looking after my daughter said, this is too much for me while we're going on overland and we're sleeping on tents. She said to me, I can't, it's too hard. This looks like war, right? And it was no violence at the time. It was just going in, but it was really interesting to even walk from one side to the other, and people didn't have legs, and it was kind of a thing. My daughter grew up thinking disability is normal, is a normal thing. I'm quite happy about it. Yes, the camera did protect everybody a lot. I think that if it wasn't the camera, they'd probably been put back in their towns, maybe 2 hours far from Cochabamba, I think it was the camera. It was that my grandfather was one of the founders of the Confederación de trabajadores, campesinos de Bolivia. And at the time of Evo Morales president, my grandmother couldn't vote when she was growing up, but my family are very politically active. My grandfather was. He spent 10 years in a political prison, right? So I think all that came into play as a tool for protection to me. I was saying everybody got hit on my team, beaten by the police on my team, except me. They never beat me up. So I think that play, and that gave me some, in a way, protection, and I gave that protection to the people. We were fighting for a human right that it is a little pension, but it means, like, everybody still have to work. It just means that things are not going to change from one day to the next, all right? So we won't have good streets. We won't have accessible places, but rather than crawling yourself to a bus, you can pay $3 or $4 to somebody to carry you or to carry your wheelchair. It means that I think that it's a fundamental human right that people with disabilities in different contexts, we do have that extra support and that extra help to decide what to do with our money, right? To decide to, like, we won't change everything. Like, not even in Paris, when we went with Rosemary, we couldn't get her into the train because we didn't ask 24 hours in advance. We didn't know that. And then we wouldn't get to Geneva. And you know what happened? People there, the French people, don't follow orders. Happily, we all carry her, and we got the security guards shouting at us, no, 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 you can't do that. And we're like, we can't, like, you're not gonna stop us. When we took Rosemary to the Eiffel Tower, she couldn't get up to see the thing. We had to carry her physically again. So in that sense, I think it's very important all over the world. And this is not something that is not just happening in Bolivia. Everywhere in the world, people want to decide for us. People want to decide for people with disabilities what's better for us. Like, we don't have accessibility for real. We don't have, like, if you think about it, like, that's what I think people with disabilities in Bolivia are fighting for, that we manage our own affairs, that we are actually the ones who decide, that the Minister for Disabilities should be people with disabilities, and also that's the bare minimum. And no, we can't change everything. I remember also one thing, Claudia, a woman with cerebral palsy, was there, and I asked her, Claudia, what can I do for you? And she said to me, she grew up in an institution, and Felisa took her out because they thought that she was like vegetable, and then she was trained and she was able to communicate with the computers and everything. And I said to her, what do you want me? And she said to me, Violeta, I just want you to be my friend. I want you to go with me to have a coffee and not be embarrassed because I throw all the food. I just want to be part of this society like anyone else. I don't want to be put in an institution. I don't think like the best rehabilitation for us, or whatever it's called, it's that we are part of the society. And it's the same, you know? It's the same for every one of us. I have come to, I remember I went to the doctor in Sydney before this trip, in November, and they were saying to me that they could also help me with the HD and gave me some pills, and I was quite happy. And they told me that I will become more normal. Then I went home and I cried. I don't want to be more normal. I don't want to bother more my kidneys. I had to take some medication, and I don't want to be normal. I like the way I am. And if the world can accept me, then it's the problem of the world, not mine, right? I think that's very important. And I think it's very important that all of us tell our own stories. I think it's very important that we get the camera, or not a camera, or we do like that we are the one who benefit from our own stories, because it's also a political extractivism, and it's also artful extractivism that other people benefit. If Rosemary says that, if all the money that goes into disability will go to the hands of people with disability, we won't have poverty anywhere in the world for people with disability. The problem is that nothing comes to us. Thank you.
Thank you so much. There was a great line, I don't know if I have it correctly, but that just needs to be said all the time about we are the experts. We are ourselves the experts. It was a really great moment. So how are we doing for time? We okay? Yeah, okay. So we're open for any questions or comments. So hands up. And do we have someone running with the mic? Thank you. Okay.
Right here.
Thanks. First of all, thank you so much. I, too, was in tears. And I am so proud that ReelAbilities was able to bring this film to New York. And I'm just wondering, given that I see you have PBS as part of, is there any possibility of this actually being screened in our country through public broadcasting? Yeah.
You want to talk about the ITBS presentation?
And also, my other question is, I mean, clearly you were so a part of the protest. I mean, and I wonder, how did you connect with this? What was your vision going in as to what this was going to be? And was it as you imagined, or what?
Yeah, the film is being funded by Screen Australia and ITVS, and is going to be this year at the World Channel. It will broadcast all over. Actually, it will broadcast first in the US before in Bolivia or Australia. So yeah. There is also a short film that we made in 2017 that also forced Morales to give them the pension, the short, on The Guardian. So the film, you can watch it on The Guardian. Well, it's not like the whole story. It's a little part of the story. But at the time, it's interesting what I saw it happen. This was happening 2 blocks from my house. Like, literally 2 blocks from my house. And in the end, everybody on the team was tired, and they left. And I'm the only one who went to Geneva with Rosemary. And with the money that The Guardian gave it to me to make the film, I bought the flights to go to Geneva and keep shooting. But I actually did a deal with the United Nations that no one will say anything, and we couldn't film because of the deal I did. So I just took some photographs. And it's sad because her speech was the most amazing speech ever at the United Nations. They were not used to having real people living this in that way. And I couldn't film because, as I said, I did a deal that it's a thing that you do with the UN, that you say that you go under witness protection, but no one, they won't tell the other party, but also you can use cameras. Okay, that was the deal. And I realized then that I had skin in the game. And I know how to fight this because it was my own country, my own idiosyncrasies, my own language. I speak Quechua and Spanish. The whole political situation, I understand very well how to fight this as much as everybody else in the film, right? And that's why I think it's critical in this moment that people in those countries, in Israel, in Palestine, they talk about this, and they do actually, because they are the ones who are going to be able to change this before this gets worse. And I think this is very key. When somebody else goes to another country to make a film, it is not the same. You don't, you go, and it's not I didn't do it, I did it in my first film. I never did it again. I made a film about slavery in Algeria and Morocco. It was very political, and I got crucified for that. But I realized that I left, and I never went back, right? And I didn't understand all the nuances. Here, I had a skin of the game, and even now, I'm afraid. Because if Evo Morales wins again, maybe I will never be able to go back to my own country, right? So this is the state of things, because this will change how Morales is seen all over the world. He is our first indigenous president. And the thing is that I think that in a sense, he was a good president, but at the end, he fell in love with power. And he fell in love with power, and I think the problem is the systems. I think that you can get into power and you get corrupted. And he believed that he got crazy. He thought that everybody wanted to do a coup d'etat. He still thinks that they are the ones who wanted to actually take the power away. He lost it in the way. And I think this is the problem with power. I think that we need to change the whole system all over the world. I think we need to change systems. One person cannot decide the fate of everybody, because this person, in the name of all Bolivian people, was harming people with disabilities in the central plaza. And you know what happened? Everybody else, no one knew what was happening, because the media was controlled by him. And everybody started, as you saw, people, like the most vulnerable people in my country and indigenous people, to like start insulting people, start repeating exactly the same. That's what they hear in television. The power of controlling the people at the time for me was appalling. It was like, it was a wake-up call how much the opinion of people can be controlled by these people in power. Like, they were saying they're disabled, they don't worth anything, the government gives them everything. They were repeating exactly the same as what they were watching on television. So what happened at the time is that I used Facebook a lot, and I was able to counter what was the government saying, and I forced the media in Bolivia to at least show the other side. Because once they were blasted with water cannons, you know what? They throw peace to the police. The only thing that the Bolivian television show is, oh, these disgusting disabled people throwing peace to the police. And also when we went to the United Nations, again, a lot of the commissioners from the United Nations, from Scandinavia, were saying, this is a political film. You want to get rid of Evo Morales. Like, we had to show them like bits and pieces and say, this, like, of course it's political, but it's not political that belongs to a party, because also we didn't have the opposition in Bolivia coming and protesting with us. We didn't have the students coming and protesting with us. I was embarrassed, not just because of the authorities, but because the inaction of everybody else back home. It wasn't just, okay, because if the syndicates in Bolivia didn't want this, it would have finished in a week. They would have the pension. But the syndicates didn't care. No one cared. The university students didn't care. The syndicates didn't care. We are a country with a lot of unions. We're a strong country. We changed things a lot in Bolivia. And you know, that no one cared. That's why for me it's very important that I think showing La Lucha in La Plaza is going to bring another revolution, not in the kind of La Lucha, but it will, because it has to wake up. Everyone is responsible. Every single person in Bolivia is responsible, because we pay taxes, because we decide what happens, and because if we make it important, it becomes important. What La Lucha did, not just the pension, what La Lucha did is bring visibility of people with disabilities in Bolivia today. Like 3% of the workforce has to be people with disabilities, but before La Lucha, you never see people in wheelchairs, and now you see them all over. And I think this is the real change. The biggest change is that we're changing the mentality of the people and how people see the worth. And it's interesting also think about it that as technology improves, it might be less people with disabilities in the global north, but as climate change, wars, and all of this happens, it will be more people with disabilities in the global south. And I think this is very important to understand.
I know the estimates are like 80% of the folks with disabilities are in the global south. Yeah.
First of all, thank you very much for this film, and also in your words for bringing the context of the current manufacture of disability in parts of this world, and very specifically in Gaza. And while I was watching the film, I was thinking, first of all, I knew nothing about this, and I've read disability history, I've written disability history. I knew nothing about this, so thank you. And I wondered if things like the 504 demonstration in Oakland in 1977, in San Francisco in 1977, or any other piece of disability history that might have informed the strategies, the objectives, and the resilience and the fortitude of the demonstrators. That is a question. And then one other comment, and that is, this is a film about disability rights, disability justice, and but it's also about disability joy. And I so appreciate those elements in the film. Thank you.
Thank you. I think Felisa Ali, she was a good friend with Judith Hoffman here, so they belong to the same line of independent living. So I think that they do. It's interesting because Felisa was saying to me always, people with disabilities, we fought for every right that we have, but no one documented it. And this time that was the difference, that was documented. And it was very important that Rosemary or Felisa or Marcelo or Claudia or Mickey, they didn't want to tell their personal lives because they said, this is not about our personal lives, it's about our fight. And it also, they were incredibly careful through the making of the film. I was in Australia, and then I came back and worked an extra year editing the film, and we edited with them because they didn't want one little bit of pity in the film, because that wasn't the point of the film. Because they say, we don't care. Like, I don't care about telling you how I end up in the wheelchair or if I was born like that. That's irrelevant in this case, because we have, like Mickey say, we want people to see us how we are, strong, we fall in love, we care for each other, we're able to make these strategies. We're able to put they were able to break the barrier of Morales' government at the time. They're able to stop the president going to work. They're like, it's like that strength, how vulnerable they were, and that vulnerability was their strength, and the capacity to unite. Because, like, I realized that my disability is very different than a disability of a person in a wheelchair or a deaf person. Of like, every disability is so different, and even to be able to come together to fight like this, it was kind of a massive strategy. What happened after is quite sad. The government gave them the pension, but it broke all our organizations. We hope that coming back to show the film, it's going to bring us back together. All of them fall. Like, and also it's a lot of a macho attitude. Like, these things don't change. So when Rosemary came back, she wasn't a hero. She was a hero for a week. Then they destroyed her. The men didn't want to acknowledge her power. They said that she was paid, all of these things, because these attitudes still exist amongst disability community, and amongst the people with disability and all of these communities. So the government makes sure that another protest like this won't happen again and destroy. Everybody's fighting. The only good thing is that when they didn't want to screen in La Plaza and they offered us theaters and everything, and we went and talked to the bases, and we told them, they said, if they don't let us use the plaza, we're going to hang in the bridges again. So it's actually saying we want to screen in La Plaza. We want to do this, and I think this is going to change again the landscape around. Hopefully, some unity will come. I think even the narration was made by Rosemary, Felisa, Marcelo. Marcelo and Felisa divorced now. These things happen, you know? So that's also something quite hard. When my daughter watches now the film, says, I love that woman. She's like, not anymore. Like, these things happen. It's correct. Also, as Rosemary grows bigger and stronger, and her partner doesn't have a disability, and he got very jealous and upset of her. And rather than supporting her, doesn't even talk to her now. Because he's a macho, and I don't know. So these things, this is what I learned amongst these people with disability or the community. They're good people, bad people, like in any other community, right? So I think that the fight will continue. People will keep fighting. They might not do another protest themselves because they're old, but they think that we all think that the younger people have to take it and keep fighting. It costs a lot of lives. Mickey died, David died. So many people died because it was a tough protest. And we all are a wrinkle in time. I always say, what I am doesn't matter. One day I'm gonna die, and everything that I'm producing is gonna go into the dark hole of data, and it doesn't matter. What it matters is what others make and build over what I make and build. That's what it matters. At the end of the day, will matter as humanity what we all are capable of doing together. And you think your voice doesn't matter, and I think that what your opinion doesn't matter, and you think this is not the right moment to talk about this, and I think that this is the right moment to talk about this, because every moment that we are able to tell our voice and to say to the power, we know with you, it matters. It's incredibly important today.
I want to thank you all for this amazing conversation, for bringing this film to us. We could go on talking for hours, I know, and we will spend all week diving into these important topics. There's nothing more important out there. Please join us for these events. We're starting here tomorrow with short films that are amazing at 2 p.m., and we're here all day, ending with the fantastic film Daruma. You don't want to miss this, and we look forward to seeing you at other events. Thank you all so much for being a part.